down. It's the 21st of October. Come down the allotment just to do a bit of harvesting, really, because we've got a bit of a break in the weather, so I thought I'll come down, get these cauliflower acts. I came down probably just over 2 weeks ago, before I had COVID. So I thought, well, breaking the weather, I'll come down and just harvest them, regardless of what they're like, if they're ready or not, they're coming out. Because the weather's just going to get worse. It's not going to dry out anymore for me here. This is just the sort of plot I've got, and I could work with it in some ways, put loads of bark chipping and wood chips and try and bank it all up, but it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of funds and obviously time. So I actually have to work with what I've got, as most of us do. You don't get to see your plot in the winter time if you take it on in the summertime. If I'd have known it was this bad when I took it on, I'd have possibly looked elsewhere. But once you've invested time into it, you think, right, how can I make it work? So I only get a fairly short season, kind of. I'd probably say April till October. That's all I get here, really. So I have to try and grow as much as I can in that time to make it worthwhile. So that's trying to save on fuel costs, because it's 9-10 miles drive to here. And the price of fuel it all tots up, so it's kind of working it so I can put things in, cover them, protect them, and get as much crop out with it, the least amount of time spent here as possible. So when I come here, I don't like coming here for a couple of hours, really. I'd prefer to come here and get a good day's work. So sometimes I'll come down with just harvesting in mind. I'm actually looking for what I'm going to do on my next visit. So you can kind of prepare yourself, and then should the weather allow it, you know what things to bring. And you kind of psych yourself up to go, right, I'll do that, and that. And obviously when you come down, there'll be other things, but deal with them at a later date. Come down, do what you've intended to do, and get on with it. So I'll get the camera and we'll have a look around. And you can see, some of those who are new to the channel, see what I'm up against. It was actually wetter a couple of weeks ago when I came down. That's why I just came down, looked, I thought, stuff this, go home. And then obviously I had a gig and COVID came. So I've got over that now, the worst of that, obviously. My partner and my father, they've still got COVID. So, but they're near the end of it now. So I thought I'll come down and see what we're up to here and get what I can. And then all I've got to do then is come down and tidy up. I haven't got to get here to harvest things. So if you get like a month of horrendous rain and storms and I can't get down, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to lose anything else as such. It's just obviously damage that happens in bad weather in winter, as every plot. People with polytunnels, greenhouses, there's always an element of damage, unless if you can sort of shackle things down as best you can, and fingers crossed you get through it, no damage. But obviously a lot of this fence is 13 years old, so it is a bit rickety, so I'm half expecting at some point I have to prop things up. I do need to redo the fence, but I just do not have the funds to do it. I've got the posts, but I've got to buy the timber rails, I've got the netting. So it's kind of just letting funds build up over time, and if I can patch it and get through another season, then that's the option I have to do, until I can sort of dedicate the time and the funds to go, right, I'm going down there, because it'll be a couple of days work, and redo the fence, and hopefully that'll last another decade. So I'll get the camera and we'll have a quick look around. So these blueberries are doing the nice thing. They've got that lovely colour. It's nice to come and see them like this, because they've done well this year, considering I heavily pruned them last year, and I'm going to prune them quite heavily again next year, try and get them into more of a compact little bush. They didn't do as much fruit, but as usual, but obviously they were a better quality because there's less branches and less fruit for them to try and ripen up, because we did have a quite a dry spell early on in the year. So I've got a few problems here, like this liverwort stuff. I've probably brought it here from my back garden, because I have it there. It is a pain in the backside, but we'll just deal with it. You need to disturb the soil. If it's sort of wet soil, it's related to moss, really. I don't know where you can see it, but it's down there. It's quite a succulent leaf, and it does blanket things out and cause problems. But like I say, I might end up bringing some of the bark chips and put some bark just in the fruit cage. It's too much work to bring it down, do the whole plot, and it last a winter, it flooded, and it just turned to stodge then. So like in there, I need to sort of just skim it out. And it's tricky because the moles keep coming up, and so I always have like lumpy bumpy ground in there. These beans, I've not been down and even harvested any of these. There is some beans on them, so if I get a chance today, I'll pick a few, because I like them small. These dwarf French beans, but we're not far off November now, and they've had a bit of a wind chill on the tops of them, and obviously mildew and stuff like that affects them, but they'll keep trying until the frost overpowers them, and that's it. Like I say, they're always a good thing to keep sowing through the season and keep planting in little gaps as they come available, because they don't take long to crop. So this is sort of like the pass down to the shed. So it's no fun. It's water. I can't, it's always been like this. Sometimes worse years, I've had really bad years. This isn't horrendous, but I know what it gets to. So the less time I spend on here, I've got a matter of weeks before that. I always say the floods when they arrive, because there's a little low area in that field, so you can see. But once that puddle starts, I know I'm running out of time. And obviously you try and get down in between the beds, it's just pure water. But this is what I'm up against. So you can make it work. You just have to deal with what you're given. Potato bed. These are all the field beans that I put out. Not very high, but I'll leave them be. And I'll just I'm not going to dig it over. I'm just going to put a sheet over it, a big visqueen sheet, and then put some timber on that. And then I'll deal with that bed next spring. Probably dig it over, which is a job I don't like doing. But I'll come to that next spring. So, like I say, I'll probably give it about another month. And I've got the visqueen here cut already, so I'll just lay that on, and that'll shut that bed down. All these other beds, I'll just remove all the hoops. So I could probably do some new canes for next year for this bridging top rack bit. And then I can store all the water mains pipe, the nets. I can submerge them in a water butt to kill any seeds that are on them. And then weed the beds, pull everything out, maybe put a little bit of manure on top. So I've got some manure that's probably about 6 months old now, stashed away, just a thin layer, just to feed the beds a little bit. Cover them over a membrane. Some people use pegs for them, but I tend to use, I've not done it for a few years to be honest, I use like a woven membrane. A visqueen would be better, but obviously the woven stuff works as well. Put that over the top, fold it over the edge, and I use this like a 1-inch screw with a washer, and I just anchor it sort of like in each corner, and then at the middle of each side, and that's always been enough. It doesn't blow away. With pegs, you get any wind under it, flicks a peg out, and then you think it's covered, but it spends all season flapping around in the wind and ends up blowing over yonder, because it is very exposed here. Broccoli side shoots, there's probably some I could pick, but I'm not going to bother. I've got plenty of broccoli and I've got plenty of cauliflower, so I'm just going to take these as they are. They're suffering now because of the roots are just so wet down there, so they're not going to come to much. They're just going to probably get attacked by a slug. So while they're in this sort of condition, I can harvest them and just eat these as fresh cauliflowers, because I've still got probably about 15 bags of cauliflower in the freezer, so I'm not going to run out of cauliflower. So I don't really need them, but I'll take them and I'll use them fresh, because they're not massive, so that you probably about 8 or 9 meals in there that you can sort of make with them all. If you like cauliflower, it's not my favourite veg, but it's a veg and it's healthy for you, so that's pretty much why I eat veg, because it's healthy for me, not because I have a preference for it. That's a nice cauliflower, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's free, and it's a second run. All this is bonus crop, because I've had the main season, and this is all bonus stuff now. Sweet corns as it was when I took all that, toppled these peas, mildew got them. I came down and had another picking, but these are just surplus ones, so if they dry out, I'll use them as seeds. Otherwise, I'll just rip them down, get all these nets out of the way. Rigoletto cabbage. It's going to start getting slug old, so I'm going to harvest all 3 of them. Now that stood so well. That's from probably a February or March sowing. It does stand so well. It's not erupted. There'll be some slug holes. That's a problem with cabbage. I would be better off growing cabbage in the back garden. I can keep a bit of control on the slugs, because they do get under these nets. Small ones. I don't get any problems with the big ones. It's just the small ones. Snails, they struggle to get under. You could probably put a batten around the top, like a little lip to fold it over. I'm still got, these courgette plants I thought they were a bit finished, but end of October and got a courgette there. So it's all bonus stuff. The same as this. A lot of these plants you could just kind of leave and cover over. Like a lot of these weeds, I'll pull the worst out, the thistle things, but anything that's kind of like just an annual type thing, I'll when they cover them, the light will block off and they'll just rot into the soil. Because as soon as you put a cover on, I do it, I'll get all the voles and moles will come in, because it's like a drier sort of island for them to sort of settle in through the winter and do the thing. But And then I'd have to deal with that in the spring then. As soon as I uncover it sort of March, I give it a month for the little weed seeds to germinate, hold them off, stick my plants in, put a net over, and fingers crossed we have a decent season. That's all I can do here. If it's outside my back door, I could come and look at it every day, but it's just too far to travel. You know, it's like I say, it's 9-10 mile drive to here, and it's got to be sort of financially viable as well. So all these field beans, most of them germinated. They were a pain to sow, you know, to sow each one individually. You know, there's a lot there, but I thought instead of putting manure on it, I've manured it most years. It's had something dug in. I'm not going to this year. I'm just going to cover it over, and then I'll dig it next year, because it's a lot of work. This bed is the main work. This is so labour intensive, the doing the potatoes in it, because you dig it, you plant your spuds, you've got to dig them up. But I'd always grow potatoes, doesn't matter how labour intensive, because it's probably one of my favourite things to grow, because when it does well and you've got that big mountain of potatoes that last you for absolutely months, they are very beneficial to do. You know, and different, you know, first earlies, second earlies and main croppers, it's up to you. But I mean, if you've got a small area, just stick with the first and second earlies. But if you've got the space, main croppers, you know, blight does get them, depending on the season, you know, but if you can get away with it and get them in early enough, this is a problem. I'm sort of trapped in by how early I can put them in, because it's so wet. So I can't get them in, you know, usually it'd be end of March, but I can't get them in until middle of April. So that shortens that side of the season down a little bit. So I'll say all I'm going to do today is lift this net up and cut the collie heads off, I think. I'm not going to pull the plants out. I might do, it just depends how loose they are. And all that will go in compost heap. Oh, everything else then that's left on here will go in the compost heap. So it's cauliflower and these cabbage, and that's all I intend to get done today. And then I'll probably just head home then. I mean, I might pick some the dwarf French beans. We'll see. But I haven't got much time, so I thought I'll get up here, do this, then the pressure's off then. You know, I've nothing up here that's going to get completely lost. So I'll get the tripod and get this net up, and we'll see what we get out of here. Right, I'll just wade my way through this slop, and get some secateurs and a knife. I left this blue tray here last time I was here, because I'd come down thinking like, oh, I better check my cauliflower, and it wasn't ready enough, so I thought, oh, I took a bit of pressure off, because it was absolutely chucking it down that day. It was a bit of a relief not to have to do anything. So I've got to try and find somewhere dry to put this. I'll put it on this sweet corn bed somewhere. Dump my collie in that. There's nets up. Just a case of treading carefully, because once you start getting the sludge on here, you know, we're walking about on it, it just doesn't dry out at all. Every time you come down here, you're just dealing with it's just like a bog. You know, that other side it's just underwater. Excuse me. There's nothing I can do about it. Just I've tried different things, you know, but without sticking loads of money into it. But at the end of the day, this is a low spot, you know. So if you dig holes to drain it off, you're just going to have to drain the land as well. But I think what it was is, years ago, this was used for growing potatoes, and it was de-stoned, this whole field, which is great, you know, because when you're digging, then you've not got a load of stones to deal with. But it's quite fine and silty, this soil, so it compacts very easy. So I'm going to leave these nets up now. There's a few broccoli side shoots I can pick out there, I guess. I wouldn't usually release both ends of the net, but just for strapping it up so it don't blow around. See if I've got any twine here just to tie around this bit. It doesn't take long to strip the beds out, just in case you cut the cable ties and screw these end posts, and I'll lay all the alkathene on top of the big sheet on my potato bed when I put that down. It all helps us weighing it down. See if I can kind of trap this somehow. It's no fun when you get like soaking, muddy, wet hands. It does take a bit of the fun out of it a bit. But at least there's a crop here. Not massive, not brilliant. I think these were a July sowing, I think, or a June sowing. You know, they got a bit attacked by stuff when they were kind of undercover at home. They're a little bit late going in, but nevertheless, there's some collie here. It's not a complete waste. You know, probably quite slug old. You can see some of these leaves, lots of little holes, but it is little slugs. That's the problem. Yeah, some of these are absolutely tiny, but it's just pointless me leaving them, you know, coming up for the sake of a cauliflower, because I might not get back up for a month or something like that. You know, you never quite know. There's nothing actually. Oh, there's a nice little one in that. You know, they are small, but it all goes towards a meal. This one's a bit manky. Little slug there. Plus, we're leaving the nets up. Any birds can come in and eat some of the slugs and get rid of them. Yeah, it's a shame because that's like a little perfect cauliflower. That. Perfect. You know, in the right conditions, another 2 or 3 weeks it'd have been quite big, but I'm just not prepared to leave them now. The variety's Clapton, it's the same as they grow in the main season. If I was doing something like Sapporo or Triumphant, they're, you know, the Triumphant's a little bit more hardy. You could probably leave them a bit, but like I say, these roots go through here into this soil, and it just bogs them down, and this is why they start to rot off. You know, so it's pointless leaving them to just rotten. You know, so I might as well harvest what I can. Some of these that are brown on the outside, all I'll do with them, you see, just shave them off with a knife. I snapped a couple of leaves over them last time I was here. I've always found with cauliflower, the worst place for slugs is they love going underneath. And they're quite happy hidden away in there. Sometimes you get this great big caterpillar in there, which is I think it's like a bit of a ground beetle type thing. But I can feel my boots leaking a bit. I need to sort my welly boots out. They are somewhere. But it's just one of them things that when you got a wet plot, get what you can. You know, a lot of these are kind of like, you know, 3 to 4 inch. Don't worry about like they're discoloured on top. Don't worry about that. It won't do any harm at all. It's funny actually, because sometimes when you peel off with a knife a bit and then you boil it, they tend to whiten up. But it's you know, you can grate them up and make pizza bases out of them. It's always better when they're fresh cauliflower for that. Big caterpillar there. But yeah, I think that the beds have actually just begun struggling. They're actually getting a bit depleted now. So I think I need to concentrate on feeding them, because I used to feed them regular. You know, I'd have spent compost coming down, which has still got, you know, feed in. But we're not doing that because compost price has gone horrendously high. I've just kind of skimped on it a bit. But like I said, I've got some manure. Obviously, like with any sort of manure, that, you know, there could be something bad in it. I'm not putting it on thick, and obviously it'll have months for it to get broken down, because I'm not going to put it on thick. So I haven't got much room in these beds to actually put much in. But this is the problem, you see, obviously the beds, they get that wet, the wood rots quite quick. And this wood, even though they're not that old, these beds, a year or two, if that, like I did them last year. I don't think they'll last as long as the last ones did, because the last ones were like years old. See, from your cover, you snap a leaf over the top to cover it, and it's a nice, perfect little shelter for slugs to go under and start feasting away. You can always tell because you get slug poo all over it. But if you can get your head around that, wash it off, peel it off, eat the rest of it. So there's not much here, but it's all food. You know, and just that sort of late sowing, instead of like not growing anything. I mean, if I had more space in the garden at home, I'd probably concentrate the later season stuff at home, because I can keep an eye on it and protect it a bit more. It's a little bit more sheltered, but here it's so exposed. It just, things do struggle. I've tried growing some like really hardy stuff, but it just doesn't matter how hardy it is. It just succumbs to it here. And it's been sat there all winter, and you come thinking I'll get it maybe March or April, and it ends up in your way, and you look at it and you think, was it worth putting it in? And I've come to the conclusion, for me on this site, it's not. No point me overwintering cabbages, you know, or any sort of brassica really, because it just doesn't do well. And these few collies here in the middle, these will probably do alright. They're quite a healthy plant. They'll probably get a bit bigger, but I'm not saying it's just pointless, because I don't know when I'm going to get back up again. Like I say, I've got freezers still full, so everything I harvest now, you're kind of fighting for finding space, because you can only eat so much, you know, but none of it gets wasted. You know, I don't necessarily give a lot of it away. If I've got surplus and I really don't need it, then possibly, but I've learnt in the past, you give a load away and then 6 months down the line you run out yourself, and you think, oh, I should have kept that now. So I'll go and dump this on dry ground, and I'll get on with a couple of other bits, I think. But not too much, because my feet are a bit wet already. Get this cabbage now. I'll leave that little one in. It looks a bit like it's, I mean, that's the one that's struggled all year, that. It's probably rife with slugs in the middle of that, but these will be alright. Hopefully. But yeah, the Rigoletto, I'm going to actually sow it later next year, you know, for picking later in the season, so I can get an early crop or something beforehand out the bed. Maybe some, like, you know, beetroots and spring onions, and then follow that on with some of these. I would put them in my main potato bed, but it's just netting them and protecting them. Now, I've tried before now growing stuff in that soil, and it just doesn't do well. As soon as the old rains come, it just gets too compacted. I'll probably come down in a few weeks and this net will be flapping around everywhere, but deal with it then. Main priority is get these cabbages off. You know, I'm not going to, I'll go as far as I can into it here, and I'll leave the outer leaves there, but it won't form anything, I don't think. There's a lot of weight in this. It's just kind of going under, cutting through the stem. Like so. A few little holes there, so I'll probably take another layer of leaf off because there's slugs under there. Throw them on the bed. They can just rot in or whatever. There's will be quite a few slugs in this. I can peel it back and chop it. Do the knife, it's a bit better. Keep putting my knives down at home in polytunnel and then can't find them. Slug getting off there. You know, because I've not used any slug pellets. There's a big old slug under there. Get him out of the way. There's those leopard slugs which are supposed to eat other slugs. I have a lot of them at home. I'm wondering whether to bring some up here. Supposed to only eat decaying sort of vegetables. You You know, there's like worms go up into these for a bit of dry land. Another slug. You know, so sometimes you better just hacking it off across there, chop it and bag it up. You know, or cut it in half and wrap it in cling film, because it will keep for a while. You know, for a couple of months. Any little ground spiders. Don't mind them. Probably eating some aphids and that. There we go. Get rid of some of these worms. The worms will start, obviously once it starts decaying, the worms will go up and start investigating. Because they want to try and get out of somewhere that's too waterlogged as well. Wood lice. They give them a good clean up. You just cut off the bad stuff. I mean, if you get one that's horrendous, yeah, I wouldn't bother if it was absolutely full of holes, but that's passable, that. This one here in the middle. This one doesn't feel quite as heavy. It's probably not quite as dense. They do hold quite a lot of water, you know, which can lead to them rotting. You know, you can like harvest a plant and hang it upside down, it'd be fine like that. You know, just hung in the shed, and they can look a bit funny on the outside. They're a bit like an onion, they'll create a bit of a skin. And you just take the outer skin off, and then you've got your cabbage. There'll be some decent cabbage somewhere in there, but yeah, I'll leave that cabbage. So I've got 3. So I only did 6, I think. So taken 5. You know, there's been plenty of cabbage. Still got a little bit left of one of the last ones I took actually in the fridge. Trying to get you down to basket without dropping them in the mud. Right, that's everything that I'm going to harvest today anyway. So I've just had an hour just clearing up a bit, to be honest. I thought, well, I don't want to waste the day. I thought, well, I'll have an hour and just clear some stuff up down here. So I've pulled some plants out. So I've got rid of these pea plants, just kind of roughly ripped them out. I need to do them ones down there. All the cauliflower plants, all the broccoli plants, they're all out. Just give them a scuff over with a rake. There's plenty of weeds in them still, but obviously they're going to get manured or covered up anyway at a later date. So it's just a bit less work to do next time I come down. A bit of airflow can go across the plot and maybe dry out a little bit. We shall see. So next time down, it'll be like clear them beds over there, clear that bed, probably rake everything, top some beds up with some stuff if I've got any, and then put the membrane on, and that's them shut down. And then it'll be just a potato bed to deal with that when that's time dry for that. I'll either just put the sheet over it, or I'll just skim it with a hoe. But I'll probably go with the first option. I might take this pea net down, because some of these posts are getting a bit knackered now, so I might take this down this year, and I can always re-erect it next year. Depending on if I do peas up, along this bit again, I might end up doing them, along this bed here. So I've not picked anything of them. So next time I'll probably pick what I can off them, then rip them out, shut that bed down as well. Got some broccoli side shoots there for I rip the plants out. And then probably one of the last jobs I'll end up doing will be in there, probably just pushing a hoe around, I think, just to scuff that top up, and that should help reduce the spread of the moss, really. If it's got some, if it's not kind of waterlogged and mat flat, if you get a bit of airflow and a bit looser soil on top, because I won't be walking, once I've raked it, I won't be going in there again. And then I might put some bark in it, I don't know, I might leave that till spring. Grapevines, I need to butcher them down. I really do need to decide what I'm doing with them. I'm probably going to actually get rid of them completely. There will be a few little bunches of grapes on them somewhere, tiny things, but they're just going to catch the wind there and probably knacker my fruit cage up, so I'll probably just get rid of them. I do just hack them down every year, but they keep coming back, so they are quite persistent, so I'll probably get rid of them once and for all, then I don't have to worry about them then, because they're a seed variety, so they're not the best to eat. They taste okay, but they're full of seeds. So that's it for up here today. Just a quick update anyway, what I've got done here today and how the plot's looking. As you can see, it's same as ever in the winter time, absolutely wet and a mess, but it's just what happens. You try and get on top of it and then do the rest next year, and hopefully you get another good year out of it. It's all worthwhile, because this is probably one of the most important bits, is the prep. Get this prep done, and it makes the growing season much more pleasurable because you're not trying to prep and grow and maintain at the same time. So thanks for watching, take care, and links in the description for how you can support the channel if you want to support it, 'cause it all goes back into the channel, you know, whether it's bits of fence or seeds or all that sort of thing, any, you know, bits of pipe, any projects, it all funds that, so it just allows me to do a bit more really. So thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon. See you now, bye bye.